All right, and we are live. All right, sports update, fellas. What's good? We back in the building. We got Adrian back.
Good.
He's alive.
He's back. All right,
Back.
let's dive right into it, man. Start off with the Red Wings. Red Wings in a very pivotal game tonight against Washington. You know, we know that you're trying to get this last seed, the wild card, currently 36-29. If I'm not mistaken, I think Washington is the last, has that wild card spot right now, and if the Wings win, they'll have it. If I'm not mistaken,
They had it. I think Washington may have won a game and they took it over from the Wings. So yeah, I think they do have it right now. The Wings are just on the edge. So they need to beat they play the Capitals 2 more times, and if they lose tonight, knock on wood, and then the Capitals basically win out, which I think the Capitals have an easy rest, like the last 6 games of the season, pretty easy. So the Wings, need to definitely win this one, and then they play them, I think, the second to last game of the season. So they definitely need to beat them. Another one, the Flyers game. Oh, they just scored again. Flyers are up 2-0. You kind of hope that the Flyers lose because they can potentially drop out. Washington would take the Flyers spot, and then you would have the wild card spot because Washington would lead the Metropolitan. But it's going to really come down to the wire for the Wings to make it in.
So do you think they ultimately get in?
I mean, they're playing better than they were. I think it's crazy that the Caps have gotten up here and into the wild card spot with basically nobodies other than Ovechkin. I think ultimately that they could that the Wings will end up pulling it off. They're playing a lot better hockey than they were, a few weeks ago.
Yeah, for sure. Got to start by. Got to win tonight. Starts tonight. That's a big game right there. So yeah, we'll keep you guys posted on the Wings game. What is it enough? Is it first period right now?
1-1, second period. 7 minutes left in the second period.
All right. So yeah, we'll see how everything unfolds for the Wings tonight. Shout out Ack in the building. Says, hey, you got this. Appreciate you for tuning in, Ack.
Appreciate it, Ack.
All right. So yeah, let's go over to college basketball. A lot going on right now with the tournament and everything, but I do want to start off with Michigan. Michigan hired Dusty May as the new head coach. He had his press conference today in Ann Arbor. So, Adrian, how do you like this Dusty May hire for Michigan?
Definitely a direction. I think he was probably the best available coach on the market. So I will give Michigan saying they did a good job of getting this coaching search quick, and it came real quick during the tournament. I didn't expect them to pull the trigger quick on this one. I know he said once he talked to Ward Manuel, he knew he wanted this job, but there was other teams that reached out, but he didn't specify who it was. But all in all, after this, I don't know what you want to call it, this experiment with Juwan Howard, or after the first 2 years, getting to the Elite Eight and the Sweet 16, and it just went downhill like we talked about all year, and it just was time for a fresh start. We talked about, I didn't think they were even going to fire him, but the fact that they didn't even necessarily fire him, they said parted ways. But even that being said, they made the right move. Time for a fresh start, bring some new energy, and it's just very hard with the alumni sometimes, trying to just need a different voice though to get the program going. And hopefully, I think he'll do a good job of moving the program in the right direction. This is a top 20 job in the country. I mean, so they have all the resources, and they've been talented in the past and proved they could in the Beeline era. But overall, I think it's a pretty good hire for Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, he, like we talked about before the podcast over the week when the news broke, he took what was it, FAU to a Final Four. He took them on some deep tournament runs. So, I mean, he seems to have a little bit of pedigree, at least from the short amount of time at a smaller school at that too. I mean, he's just got to do what Juwan, really couldn't do, and that's hit the transfer portal. And Juwan really couldn't even recruit, this last year all that great. So if Dusty can bring in some guys and maybe hit the portal hard, he could definitely win the Big Ten, as we know. Other than maybe Purdue, if they do build those 7-footers in labs. I know they got another one coming next year, but if he can recruit guys or bring guys into the transfer portal, spend some money in NIL, convince them to take a little bit of funds away from the football. I know it's basically all football at University of Michigan. So if he can convince them to do that, he can definitely get some kids here. I think you can potentially beat a Michigan State because, as we all know, I mean, Izzo obviously has some young talent there with Cohen Carr and the other guy, Booker. Those guys are really young. The other one that was this year. So, I mean, he doesn't hit the transfer portal. He doesn't pay NIL all that much. So you could definitely beat, a Michigan State. And I mean, you got to fight Illinois. They're another tough team, but he definitely brings an added element. I think that Juwan had lost over this last year and maybe, at the end of the year before. So I think it's a good hire. I think it was probably one of the better ones you could do. I know I threw another small little tinfoil out there of over the weekend of Calipari if he got fired, but he would. I wouldn't have wanted him personally if I was a Michigan fan, as I'm not. I wouldn't have wanted him, but he would bring the juice. But I think Dusty's still going to be able to be a good coach for Michigan basketball.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I like the hire. It made a lot of sense. I know he was. It was between here or Louisville, I believe. So glad he chose us. Glad he came here. I think he's going to bring his. What'd you say?
So I think it's a little better job at Michigan. I think the Block M holds a little bit more weight than for basketball. I mean, I know Louisville is a big basketball school, but I still think Michigan's a little bit better job.
Yeah. I think the problem too is I was listening to a podcast about this. The fact that the Louisville is in the ACC, right, guys? So as we all know, with conference realignment and everything shifting, I think coaches are feeling more comfortable having the ability to either get a big time job in the SEC or the Big Ten. Rather, those conferences seem a little more stable right now, and those are the big two power players and everything. So I think that was a factor as well. But Kentucky did just announce that Calipari will be back for another season after meeting with the AD.
I think that's the right move. I mean, I know he's been underachieving a lot, especially in the tournament, but I mean, it's like fire him and go to who though? Like who's really the guy?
Yeah,
that's the key right there.
It's like the Izzo thing too. It's like you're not going to get rid of Izzo. You're going to let him retire because he still takes you to the tournament mostly every year. He can get you on a deep run, any given tournament, but also he might lose in the first or second round, and that's what Cal's been doing. So there's pedigree there. That's the main thing in basketball, and kids will want to go play for those coaches. Like basketball is the only sport in really college. I mean, I guess there was like back in the day, it was you wanted to play for a Saban or a Kiffin and guys like that. But now NIL is so much more prominent in football than it is basketball. I mean, it still is big in basketball, but kids are able to get playing time in basketball easily, and they want to go play for all these generational coaches.
Absolutely. So yeah, sticking with college basketball here, Trey Townsend, the stud for OU, Oakland University, announced he's hitting the transfer portal. He's supposed to cash in, get some big NIL money. So Adrian, how do you like this move for Trey Townsend?
I commend him. I'm happy for him. I think it's the right move. Your brand's gonna be bigger than it already is right now. You got the public to see you. I've seen him for a couple of years now, and I told you guys even before the tournament started how good he was, and you guys watched him and realized he's got game, man. Like I said, he won Horizon Player of the Year. He's been at OU for a couple of years. I think this is arguably Campy's one of his best teams in the 40 years he's been there. But, the school's going to pay him a nice chunk of change to go, whether it goes to the Big Ten, the SEC, the ACC. My only thing is just go to the where you're going to get a lot of money, but also go to a team that's going to fit you and what's going to work best for you to get win. Your stock up to be able to get into the NBA. But he's going to be a big-time player on a Power 4 team next year. I can guarantee you that.
So Reid, would you like to see Dusty May recruit Trey Townsend?
I mean, him or Izzo would be interesting. You keep him at state. I mean, you obviously have that pull because that his dad played at Oakland under Campy, and that was a big story. And he, played at Oxford right up the road from where I live. So if he wants to stay here, sure. Maybe he wants to change the scenery. He could go after him. I think Izzo, again, he doesn't really hit the transfer portal, but that's another person that you could – maybe go after. I think ultimately he's going to go somewhere else and try and be out of the state and make a legacy at some other school. Because, I mean, he did make a legacy at OU already, but he really had the story of his dad and Campy. It was Campy's, longest tenured coach. So I think he's going to go somewhere, like Adrian said, maybe an ACC school or maybe, somewhere down in the SEC. I think he could end up at like a Kentucky or something, but I think he probably end up staying somewhere maybe it's a little bit smaller than a Kentucky that doesn't have such high recruiting and transfer for playing time, obviously. But he played well. I mean, I think I said, 17, 8, and 3 or something this year. And so, I mean, I think anywhere he goes, like Adrian said, sure, go for the money. That's great. He could potentially be an NBA prospect. Just go somewhere that you're going to be able to play and prove yourself. But, whatever makes best sense with the money as well. Be smart about it.
Yeah, for sure. And he's going to help his draft stock if he keeps playing the way he does, and now he has more visibility on him at a Power 5 school. I think he should go in the first round next year. If everything falls into place for him, I can see him going maybe bottom of the first round, or depends on how the season goes and how far that team goes. But he can end up being a first round pick next year for sure.
Real quick too, before we get off the college basketball thing, my conspiracy theory with Dusty May is I think he'll end up bringing a couple guys from that Florida Atlantic team up to this Michigan team. Just watch and see. They have 3 of their best players are juniors, so I'll just be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, that can get this thing turned around quick if that happens. Sure.
They only 4 scholarship players right now.
Yeah. So I still want to stick with college basketball. So MSU, Michigan State, they did win the game in the tournament. They beat Mississippi State, but they ended up losing to North Carolina. I think they're 0-5 against North Carolina in the tournament, if I'm not mistaken.
Something like that.
Yep, they haven't won a game against them in the tournament.
So Adrian, all in all, would you call this MSU season a success or a failure?
Oh, it was a complete failure. They were ranked 4 in the country. We all believe that was pretty much too high for them. Guard play was fantastic for most of the year. Tyson Walker did his thing at Michigan State from the time he was there, but the bigs just can't cut it. Matty Sissoko, Carson Cooper, Jackson Culler, just not it for Tom Izzo. I think they could have done a better job. We figured they came out in this game and they were in the game, dominated for the first 12 minutes of the game, and Carolina just slowly got their footing ready and then was able to pull away. Michigan State played hard up until that second half, but just they didn't have the talent. They didn't have the defense to be able to stop this North Carolina team. But there's gonna have to be some big changes from Tom Izzo. He's 70, I believe, already. So I know he came out of the game and said he's gonna die trying, which means I hear what he's saying. I feel it for State Nation, and people want to see Michigan State do good again. But the fact is, if you want to get better, you don't want to recruit 5-star players. You have to go hit the transfer portal. It's the same thing we talk about with Dabo Swinney and college football. If you don't hit the portal, you will not be successful. You have to stop being so stubborn because they're going to be missing a lot of pieces coming into next season.
Yeah. I agree in a sense. I think it was a failure to look at it from the beginning of the year standpoint and then seeing it throughout the rest of the season, how they kind of underperformed and underachieved. I think the team was younger than expected. Like I said, a lot of those young guys, the Cohen Cars, Booker, and the guy I can't remember his name, who's redshirted, but he
Fierce.
Yeah, he was supposed to be a big part of this offense. Cohen Carr's got to learn more or they got to play him correctly. They kind of want him to be 3-D, which is not like his game. He's more of a standing on the basket and dunk kind of guy. So I think, you can use him to your advantages, but I think he's just young. I think Booker can turn into a solid player, almost kind of like a KD type. He could probably almost be developed into your 3-D type guy. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, they did make it to the second round of the tournament, given where they were midway through the season, or towards the end of the season. People were wondering if they were even going to make it to the tournament. So I would say it's a partial success, but overall it's more of a failure. They played well the first half against North Carolina, but North Carolina was just too good on defense. They were too big. Like Adrian said, the bigs for Michigan State, Sissoko, Cooper, all those guys, they couldn't block. Cooper gets a ball, 15 feet from the rim and doesn't even shoot. He'll get it at the elbow and he just waits to give it to someone to pass. So it's like, what good is this guy if all he's going to do is rebound something that goes over someone else's head and then he can't shoot it? So yeah, I think like Adrian said, if you're not going to recruit 5-stars, go to the transfer portal and find guys that can really help you out. Hopefully, those young guys that they got don't transfer away and they take the step next season. Because Izzo's definitely got a clock. I don't think that he's a failure as a coach by any means, but he's definitely got a clock. He is older. I think that his time's limited to win one of these things.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, if I was him, if I was Dusty May, I'd have a serious talk with Trey Towns to try to keep him in state. I mean, he might leave, might go somewhere else, but I would still have a serious talk with him, try to keep him in state before he even ventures out anywhere. I mean, hey, it's neither yes or no. So
I agree. I totally agree. But also, I just want to point out that block. Seth Trimble had a block on Jackson Kohler. It was incredible from a 6'2" guard on a guy who was 6'9". If you see the still picture, I'll send it to you guys in the group chat. But it just was crazy. So
Talking about the NC and the state game, didn't you send that one? Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it. It was ridiculous the way that happened.
yeah, Tom Izzo 69. Just looked that up. So yeah, definitely not getting no younger. So my last
also real quick, he has to find a way to add some different pieces to the coaching staff. Whether that's yep.
Unreal. That guy's head's, I mean, being that small, it's at the bottom of the backboard.
Raaj and Reid, I will say he needs to change up the coaching staff, whether that's fire some of these longtime assistants, because some of these players aren't getting developed like they should be. So I think that's something he needs to look at. So every aspect of this program right now needs to be changed and get with the modern times. You might not like it, but you're going to have to do it in order to be successful, because Michigan State fans are not used to going out in the round of 32. You know, they're used to getting at least one Final Four every 4 years, and that just hasn't happened since, I believe, lost to Texas Tech the year with before Cassius last year. So
yeah, was it like 2019 or something like that?
Yeah, 2019.
Yeah.
Wings just scored again.
Yes.
2-1.
There we go. Breaking news of Reid.
So Adrian, my last thing on state. So they're seniors: Tyson Walker, Hogart, Malik Hall. Do you see any of these guys playing in the NBA?
Tyson Walker possibly, but he's an undersized guard. I believe he could be a super elite G player. Hogart, there's rumors that Hogart actually has another year of eligibility. So we'll wait and see on that aspect. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think he comes back, but Michigan State's gonna be missing a lot of guard play. Jeremy Fears will be back from that incident where he got shot in the leg right when the season started. So we'll see. But we'll give Tom Izzo a month or so to see if he dips his toes into the transporter and make some changes to the staff.
Yeah, I agree with Adrian. I think Walker could potentially he'll probably be like a Cassius. If he does get drafted, it'll be an undrafted free agent. He'll get picked up. So technically he wouldn't be drafted, but I think it'll be something like Cassius. He's a smaller guard. I mean, he can shoot, but you see what happens with smaller guards that can shoot. What was his name? Carson. He played on the Pistons, and he was the Purdue.
Carson Edwards.
Yeah, Carson Edwards. He was a shorter guard that could shoot the lights out. I mean, Cassius could shoot, but he was also a good facilitator. But those smaller guards, just unless you're a Steph or someone, they don't.
Isaiah Thomas.
Isaiah Thomas, exactly. Unless you, Isaiah Thomas and Isaiah Thomas, Detroit Isaiah Thomas as well. Both of them. They both were undersized guards. So you just see it. I mean, obviously we have Cade here. He's an oversized point guard. Luka's an oversized point guard. So yeah, you just see it's not really the way of the NBA anymore. So he could go to a team. Guys like Hogart, I think Hogart was probably the most underachieving, horrible basketball player I watched, all year.
Parlay killer.
Parlay. Yeah, he was just horrible. I said it every game I watched. I don't know how this guy is still starting. So hopefully he does transfer for state's sake, because I think there's some guys that could take over for him, but we'll have to see. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, who knows? Maybe Troy Weaver might take Tyson Walker. Who knows? Might be a Piston. Who knows?
I mean, he took Sasser. He's 6'3".
Yeah, for sure. Shout out X says transfer portals are like the new technologies. Get with it or get left behind.
You know what I compare it to real quick? You could do it in basketball or football. The transfer portal is like free agency, and then college recruiting is like the draft. So you have to be able to supplement them, and especially because colleges want to make it more like NBA or more like the NFL. So these coaches, man, a lot of these older coaches, man, are not understanding that whether you're like a Calipari or you're like a John Shire. Well, he's more new school. E.B. Hoover Davis, you see what Carolina's done. 2 of their starters were from the portal. Harrison Ingram, one of the biggest impact guys, and Cormac Ryan, who helped us beat Duke. So, you may not like it, but you gotta do it. College basketball is getting older, man. So it's tough, but you gotta if you want to win, that's what it takes.
You either get with it or you end up like Nick Saban, who realized, it's just
Look at
not
Jay
for
Wright
me.
from Villanova. He left.
Yeah.
He left before it even happened. He's happier than ever.
Yes, sir. So cool. We want to stick with basketball here, but let's switch over to the NBA. Want to get our picks in. Who do we think the NBA awards? We're down to the last, what is it, like 13, 12 games of the season? 11,
Under 10,
like
10 or 11 games, depending on who we're talking about.
Yeah. So I want to get who we think are going to win these awards. I think we all agree on this one. Reid, who do you got for the Rookie of the Year?
Sartan. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, Wemby. Obviously, it was a tight race in the beginning to middle of the season with him and Chet. But Wemby is just one. I think he is the Spurs, so like he just gets the ball all the time, and he's a freak of nature. Chet plays on a team that has more superstars on it, so I think that does hurt him. Obviously, I don't think he's as good as Wemby. I don't think he deserves Rookie of the Year. I'm just saying I think Wemby's in a better situation for the Rookie of the Year. He's also a lot better of a player. But yeah, obviously it's got to be him. He's just breaking all sorts of records. He's an anomaly, like they said, and I wish he was in a Pistons jersey like he should have been.
Yep, Wembyama. Don't even need to say nothing. It's just been a stud. So
yeah, we all unanimously agree. It's Wemby, and then like you said, Chet probably finished second. But it's Wemby's award to lose. All right, sixth man of the year, Adrian. Who you got as your sixth man of the year right now?
I'll go Norman Powell, Los Angeles Clippers. Been on a tear. Let me see what he's averaging. He's a walking bucket every single time you watch him play for the Clippers. I know they have firepower. He's had to come off the bench, but his whole career with Portland, with the Clippers, he's been good. But I'm going Norman Powell, man.
Yeah, I'm sticking with the favorite. I'm going Malik Monk, I think is the favorite, right? He got dropped, and then in 2021, then he got picked up by Sacramento. He's killing it. I think he's averaging like 15.
Career highs and everything.
Yeah, he's playing great off the bench. So yeah, I think another guy that I looked at that I thought kind of about was Naz Reid, and then I was like, he's good, but I like Malik's stats a little bit better and what he does for Sacramento. So I would have to go Malik Monk.
Yeah, Malik's been lighting it up. I'm gonna go with Bobby Portis, man. Bobby Portis been doing his thing for me. He's straight off the bench. Your boy Middleton stays hurt, so that I think that opened it for him a lot as well to put up a lot of stats, put a lot of good numbers too. So I'm gonna go with Bobby Portis. I think it's Malik Monk's award to lose at this point, but I'm gonna go with Bobby Portis though.
I have Middleton on my fantasy team. I don't think he's played in like 7 weeks, and I'm in the playoffs now, and I need everybody, all hands on. Oh, he's playing tonight. Look at that! But he is playing tonight. He only got 2 points, but I need all hands on deck, and everybody's hurt. Trae Young, Gobert, Josh Johnson, Cade, Kelly Oubre, Asar, Nurkic. They're all hurt, but yeah, I like Bobby. I was thinking about him as well, considering that the Bucks need it. I mean, look at teams like Phoenix who don't really have a bench. The Bucks have obviously Dame and Giannis. Having a guy like Bobby that comes off the bench and can give you 15 points a game. It's 15 plus maybe a game is a good asset to have.
Absolutely. So Adrian, who's your current MVP? Who would you give the MVP to right now?
Come on, man. He's part of the reigning defending champs, Nikola Jokic, man. I mean, but what more else can I say, man? The Denver Nuggets are slowly creeping their way back into the number one seed. Let me double check and see if they believe they were a half game out of the number one seed in the Western Conference.
I think OKC still.
They're a game up right now. OKC. Jokic is continuing to be a monster, as we know, averaging 26, 12, and 9. So almost another triple-double with pure efficiency. So Denver is on his way to try to repeat as champions. So Jokic is looking for his third MVP. I think he gets it.
Yeah, I mean, we had this conversation last week. It's tough. It's a real tight race, in my opinion. This is the tightest I've seen in a race between 3 people in the MVP in a while, because normally it's just 2 guys, and generally it's the centers or a power forward if you want to put Giannis there. But yeah, I mean, Luka's up there. He's obviously killing it in his averages. Jokic is leading his team. Again, I know it's tough because he gets fouled a lot, scores a lot of points at the line, but I still got to give it to Shea because his team's number one in the West, and I think he's a great leader for that team. Not a lot of people, saw this jump coming from him. So, I mean, you saw it coming eventually, maybe not this soon, but I think, he basically is averaging 30 a night, and I think he leads the league in steals, or maybe he's top 3 in steals. So I would give it to Shea right now.
Yeah, that's where I was at with it. I was with Shea as well. I mean, don't get me wrong. You can give it to Jokic. You can give it to Jokic every year, but I just the way that OKC team has been overachieving. Shea's been their best player, hands down. They've been number 1 in the West for a good majority of the season. Just to switch it up, throw a wrench in there, I'm gonna go with Shea for as of right now. So yeah. So Adrian, you think those are the top 3 guys in the MVP candidate? Luka, Shea, and Jokic right now?
You could throw Jason Tatum in there. I don't think Anthony Edwards is getting a lot of credit. So I definitely think it is. Luka's team doesn't even have 50 wins right now. So if we're really looking at it, I mean, Giannis, you could talk about Giannis. I think we're so used to seeing the same guys over from Giannis, Jokic, and B. We want to see some fresh new faces in the MVP battle. You know what I mean? So I can't necessarily say I agree wholeheartedly. Even Zion's coming on strong. I know he's not going to MVP, but for a minute. But I just think those are probably 8 right now. Like I said, it's a foreign game right now. A lot of the best players are foreign-born players in the league right now. I think we're just looking for American star to come up and be super successful, right? That's a D Book, that's an Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, etc.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Anthony Edwards should start getting a little more recognition. Like you don't really hear his name in any MVP discussion, and it should be.
I don't know about yet. He doesn't have the stats yet he leads his team well, but he's averaging 26, 5, and 5. I don't think he's MVP numbers yet, but he should definitely be up there eventually. I think he's been getting a little more recognition recently since the T-Wolves have been doing well. It hurt him this year to not have Cat being out, and Gobert's missed a few games, so that has hurt him a little bit. But yeah, I think his name will start showing up a little bit more. But as for MVP right now, I wouldn't put him in the top 10.
Ooh, no top 10?
Not averaging 26. Oh, come on. Cade's almost averaging that right now. You put Cade in the top 10, 15. Cade's doing like 23, 7, and 4.
Well, you got
not for the season though. Cade's not averaging that for the season.
Yeah, he is. That's what Cade's averaging for the season.
You got to factor in winning as well. I think Minnesota is second or third in the West, if I'm not mistaken, right now. I think Minnesota's second. Are they second in the West or third?
They're second. Let's see.
Yeah, you got to factor in winning as well. I think in totality, Anthony Edwards has been the best player on that team, hands down for sure. So
he's carried. He's had a couple games for sure. I definitely see him carry the block he had in Indiana, where he had the block on Aaron Nesmith to win the game.
Cade's averaging 22, 7, and 4.
Yeah, getting no help. The Pistons team that has no help. And don't get me wrong, I'm the biggest Cade guy, but it's about efficiency too. Luka's averaging 34, and the Mavericks are fighting to stay out of the play-in right now. Yeah, but Luka's also at a second in the MVP voting, almost first in the MVP voting. So, it's the way you look at it. The MVP award, as we know, and I've said it time and time again. It's an individual award. It doesn't really matter what a team's doing. You look at it. The only reason Embiid won it last year is because he was averaging like 36 points a game. I think Jokic should have won it last year. So, it all depends on how you look at it. But I think ultimately it's an individual award. It's not a team award. What your team's doing. That's why I wouldn't put a guy like Anthony Edwards in top 10 for MVP voting.
Yeah. Not put him in the top 10 is crazy, Reid. Come on, now that's crazy.
Yeah.
If you want to go over guys, you can go over guys that you could put in over him. Easily.
You can't put 10 guys in front of Anthony Edwards right now. Come on, now that's crazy.
You don't think a guy like, let's see, for MVP, if you want to just go off stats alone, you don't think a guy like Tatum would be ahead of him?
Okay.
Well, you have Luca, you have Luca,
Hold
you
on,
have
no.
Joker.
Only thing I am going to say though, I'm not going to put anybody in front of him that hasn't played more games than him. I factor that in as well. So I don't know. He might have played more games than Tatum.
I mean, I can look right now. Let's see.
We know the rule is with a 65 threshold anyway, so that eliminates a lot of guys anyways.
Yeah. Same thing with like you said with Luka. I think Luka should be in it, but he also has missed a lot of games as well, and the season where his team is. So
where is it? Tatum's played 67.
Okay.
And I'll pull up Anthony Edwards in just 1 second. Anthony Edwards has played 68.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I put Tatum over Anthony Edwards for sure.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
Then you obviously have the regular guys. You have your Giannis, you have your Joker, Luka.
It's a lot of time too. I
just looked him up, but
hey, I want to say something real quick. I just had to get this off my chest too. The fact that I'm watching the Bucks Lakers game tonight, LeBron decides he's gonna sit out to manage his ankle knee injury, which I get him sitting out. But why wouldn't you sit out tomorrow night against the Memphis Grizzlies instead of what you want to sit out against Giannis and Dame tonight? Giannis
has played 66.
Okay.
He's averaging 30, 11, and 6.
Sheesh.
So rebound less than the Joker, and then 2.5 assists less than the Joker.
Okay.
I mean, I obviously don't have a list of 10 guys like right off the top of my head to drag this thing out. But if you give me time to research,
put it in the group text, we'll finish the argument.
Yeah.
We'll finish it. You know, Reid's good for that.
All right. So my last thing, Coach of the Year. Coach of the Year as of right now, I got the Celtics, Joe Mazzulla. They're 10 games ahead of everybody in the Eastern Conference. They got the 1 seed. So right now, I'm giving Joe Mazzulla my Coach of the Year. Adrian, who you got?
This was tough. Normally I'll give it to the best record. I like what Boston's done, but I'm not going to give it to Joe Mazzulla. He's got all the pieces in place.
Yeah, this is tough for me too.
I'm between two guys. Right now it's a tie for me. It's either Chris Finch of the Minnesota Timberwolves or Jamal Mosley of the Orlando Magic. I think Jamal Mosley's done a great job in helping rebuild that organization with the Orlando Magic. I know they're sitting at the 5th seed right now, but the man's done a hell of a job right now rebuilding that young team who has some great roster pieces with the Orlando Magic of what I pictured the Detroit Pistons should be. So, and then Chris Finch has done a good job when he took over in the middle of the season for Ryan Saunders. I didn't think he would do a good job at keeping his team afloat, and they stayed afloat with no Karl Anthony Towns. Like you said, Raaj, your boy Nas Reid has been phenomenal. Rudy Gobert's been in and out the lineup, so he's doing a great job with his team, having them as a top 3 seed in the West right now, and having a chance to make a good run in the playoffs. So those are my two guys. I can't pick which one, but I'm leaning a little more towards Jamal Mosley.
Okay. Yeah, I think a guy that his name that should be thrown in there is the head coach of the Thunder. I can't pronounce his last name.
Mark Daigneault.
Yeah, he should be. I think he should obviously be in there, being one in the West. Again, like I said, the harder division, obviously, with the teams that you have over there. Another guy, he's doing with all the young guys. Obviously, you have your Shea, your Chet. Both the Williams, Josh Giddey, all those guys are super young guys. Obviously, Sam Presti's a wizard with getting all this young talent mixed together and still having $8 billion first-round picks. So I think he should be a guy that's up there. A guy that's name should probably just be, for right now. I mean, obviously he has help with Joker and Jamal Murray, but Malone should definitely be in there. Being a guy that won it last year. I mean, his team is almost first in the West. I think that his name should definitely be thrown in there. Like you said, Mazzulla's up there, but I would ultimately have to give it to Malone just because I think he's been the most consistent with his team over the last few years. And again, like you said they were a half game behind Adrian or one full game.
They are a game. Denver is a game up on OKC, and then OKC is a half game up on Minnesota, and then. Okay. At 4, you got the Pelicans. So the top 3 seeds can go either Denver, OKC, or Minnesota, and then 4, 5, 6. It's a big jumble mess.
I just think consistency there. I think he should definitely be in the consideration for it. Obviously, you have Boston being number 1, but I don't know. The East is just the East, man. It's tough to kind of give a head coach of the year out of the East. So
understandable. X says Brian should definitely play. We'll see Brian out there tonight.
Well, I know it's not popular. What about Ty Lue?
No, because they're on a slump right now. They falling all the way to 5th right now. They can't seem to catch themselves right now. So they were sitting at the 3 seed, but they've lost like 7 of 8 games. So
I wonder if he'll come back when Russ comes healthy.
He came back last night. Was his first game back, but they're 4-6 in their last 10 games right now. So they're struggling.
Take back what I said.
Yeah, I can't stick T. Lue in there right now over Missoula, Malone, and with the job of the OKC coach. Was it is it Dagnow?
Dagnow, yeah. Fun fact. You guys will probably find this funny, so it make us seem a little old. But Missoula was on the West Virginia team that beat Kentucky in the Elite 8 in John Calipari's first year at Kentucky when they had
John Wall.
Yeah, John Wall, the Boogie Cousins, yeah.
Man.
He was the one that
he was getting posted about Boogie, yeah.
Yeah, I think he blocked one of his shots though, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's crazy. All right, so yeah, let's close it out with the NFL here. So Adrian, your Steelers made a move. They signed kick returner, running back, Swiss Army knife, Cordell Patterson. So how'd you like that move?
I do. We can talk about this next week because I still gotta figure out how this is gonna work. I read up a little bit, but I'm still not all too familiar with the rule yet. But with the new kickoff rule, it makes the most sense. Basically, what I got out of it was the fact that you'll be able to return at least 80% of kickoffs because there's been a lot of touchbacks and they want to change the rule more like the XFL style. But like I said, we can nerd out about it next week. But with that being said, I think this is gonna make kick returners more valuable again. So I think by the Steelers doing this and him being with Arthur Smith before, it makes all the sense in the world. Get him more explosive on special teams, put him back there, make some plays, get him some easy points, some good field position. I think it's a good signing for the Steelers. I think every move they've decided to make this offseason has been well worth it. They signed Quez Watkins yesterday, signed Van Jefferson, some veteran receivers, but we still need a number 2 next to George Pickens. It's like a couple more moves to make. Need to get a center. So, but overall, I like the move. 2 years, $6 million. Can't beat it.
Yeah, it's I think it's if you kick it and if it's a touchback, you go to the 30 or the 35.
Like
and then you obviously the guys start 5 yards apart from each other, can't touch each other until the guy receives the ball, and then it's go time from there. I was listening about it on the radio today. So, I mean, I think it's kind of dumb, but I guess they're trying to find a way to spice it up with less injury risk. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how it plays out, I guess, but I'm not like freaking out like this is such a great change. I also hate the hip drop rule. I know we'll talk about that maybe later or whatever, but I mean, yeah, I think it's a good move for them. I think, like Adrian said, I think they just did it for a good. I mean, if he has a chance to run one back and he can run one back, it was chump change for them to sign him for whatever $6 million or whatever it was.
Yeah, for sure. So, Reid, what exactly is that hip drop rule? Go ahead and break that down for us. What is that?
Yeah, so when you basically seen the tackle every all the time last year where guys would. They're like standing like this. The guy breaks to the outside. They catch you off guard, and you tackle them on the side, and then you obviously drag your body on the side of them. It caused a few injuries. I think it caused Mark Andrews' injury. A few other guys got injured.
I think that is exactly why the rule is in place because Mark Andrews got hurt, a big time guy.
There was a few guys that it happened to.
Happened to Le'Veon Bell back in like 2014 or 15 when right before the playoffs. I think it was Vontaze Burfict probably did it, or one of the Drake Kirkpatrick did it to him right before the playoffs and hurt his knee. So, happened to Kenyon Drake, I believe he broke his ankle doing it.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up right now because I don't know what the yardage is, like how much.
Said personal foul, so I'm gonna assume it's like a 15-yard
15-yard
penalty.
penalty. Same. So
How it would be similar to like the horse collar tackle.
yeah, so it's exactly how it's going to be judged. If a guy falls off to the side of an opposing player, obviously leading his hips forward, I would assume that he's going to get a personal, probably 15-yard penalty. I think it's the dumbest rule ever, one of them almost ever implemented. I get it. You want to stop injuries, but it's like, okay, then let's just have see who can score the fastest and just take away a defense and who can throw the ball the furthest down the field. Like at this point, they're just getting rid of, obviously the helmet's bad, so they limited that, but like hip drops are just such a freak thing. It's like you catch a guy off guard. If you're standing shoulder to shoulder, if me and Adrian are going to get each other and Adrian makes a move and he runs to the outside and I have to anticipate that move and go to the outside and then I catch him and I happen to slide on the side of him. I mean, that's just the way you attack. I mean, it happened to Laporta a bunch of times last year. It happened to Pollard a bunch of times last year. It happens to running backs a lot when they go through the hole. So it's like, yeah, it sucks that guys get injured, but guess what? That's how football is played. Like it's part of the game. It's the nature of the beast. I think it's a dumb rule. I think it's probably one of the worst rules they've ever put in.
Yeah, for sure.
If it gets over penalized, they need to
figure it out.
Or it needs to be, because I know that they are also implementing more reviews on roughing the passers and I think pass interference or one of the other ones. So yeah, I think hopefully it's over reviewed, I guess, but I think it's a dumb rule, another way to just slow down the game.
Ax says, yeah, the league wants more points scored. I hate that new hip drop rule also.
Yeah.
A lot of rules they're implementing. It seems like it definitely favors the offense for sure.
It's crazy how much offense is favored over defense.
I mean, I get it. It's you don't want to see 17-10 games, but come on now, make it fair. Like some stuff, like you can't make defenders have to think about tackling a guy. It should be a natural instinct thing, and not causing it. Now the horse collar rule, when they got implemented, that I understood because that's you can prevent yourself from sticking your hand in the back of a guy's jersey and pulling them down. That's obvious. Now you think guys are getting hurt with their hips and legs. Wait, it's gonna be a lot more ankle tackling. You'll see a lot more broken ankles and foot injuries. So guys are gonna complain about it. You can't hit a guy high. You can't hit him in the knees. Like what do you want a defender to do at this point?
I think it was funny.
Go ahead, sorry, Reid.
I was listening to, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Bussin' with the Boys. It's Taylor Lewan and Will Compton were talking about it. Will Compton, obviously former middle linebacker for Washington. He played in Nebraska. He said, yeah, in a perfect game, you're going to be standing up against the other guy and you're going to be able to tackle him square. But that's a perfect game. And guess what? Football is not a perfect game. It's not going to happen every time. Like, I think it's so dumb, obviously, like you want to avoid it. But the hip drop really doesn't happen all that often. But for it to be penalized that harshly when it does happen just because you're trying to avoid injury and you want higher scoring games, I think it's dumb.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm gonna go grab my laptop from my charger from my laptop after this. But so JJ McCarthy had his pro day, Adrian, this past weekend. It seemed like his stock is shooting all the way up. It seems like he's a high commodity right now. So how high could you potentially see JJ McCarthy going?
Top 5, I think, is the highest he should go. This talk of him going top 2, I think, is a little overblown. I get it. Every time a quarterback who scouts are salivating over, I really like, he goes to a pro day and he looks good. Every quarterback looks good throwing the ball against air. Of course, any quarterback can set their feet, drop back, and throw 50 yards and looks beautiful. Of course, in a real perfect world, that's what we would love. And I'm all for JJ, and I love what he's done, but top 2 is crazy. I think if he in a smart world, he would say, I'm either going to Minnesota and that's it. I'm not going to Washington. I'm not going to New England. Even if they want to draft him, if he was smart, that's where you would put him. I believe he's going to need a redshirt year to develop and get strong. I think he's a little frail. His body needs to, fill out a little more and get some more throws. I think he can be a really good quarterback, but I don't want it to turn into a Zach Wilson thing, going to a situation that does not work for him. So I love the player. Of the guy, but he's not a top 2. Like I said, top 5, top 6 possibly, but he cannot be the second quarterback off the board. It just would be a complete disaster for my boy.
Yeah, I saw something today that said his if you're going to bet on it, he went from being, I think, the second overall pick at plus 2,400 to plus 400 now. So that's a little insane to me. Adrian said, you look good at a pro day. Obviously, everybody was going crazy over Caleb Williams throwing great. Like you said, you look good at a pro day. You're hiking the ball, and then you're rolling out, and then you're throwing it 60 yards. Like any dude that's going in the first round should probably be able to do that if I had to guess. But the fact that there's no one pressuring you, you don't have to worry about, a cornerback for the wide receiver to go and get the ball. You can literally just chuck it as hard as you can downfield. It's not that impressive to me. I think that's the way that the game's going with all these new rules, that they just want people to have pro days, and that's what games will watch. But yeah, I understand it. Like, I'm sure if you went to like a Joe Milton pro day, he probably looked just as good as J.J. McCarthy or Caleb Williams or Michael Penix, because they don't have to worry about doing anything but throwing the ball, that far. So I agree with Adrian. Can he be a first-round talent? Sure. I think that ultimately he should go to, like Adrian said, in Minnesota, sit behind a Sam Darnold, the guy who was a pick that was, third overall, second overall, who's learned all that stuff, so he can learn from him and his experiences being on other teams. I think if he goes to New York, I think he's going to get absolutely demolished by the media like Zach Wilson did the second he does something wrong, unless you sit him behind Daniel Jones, because you have Daniel Jones under contract. But then Daniel Jones probably won't want to, teach him, because he's a young guy that thinks he should start. And then, yeah, I think if, my tinfoil theory plays out, maybe he goes to the Chargers and they trade him for 11 and 23 or whatever, trade Justin Herbert for 11 and 23 with the Vikings. But ultimately, yeah, if he goes in the top three, I think that's nuts. And I think he's going to end up just being another quarterback that got overhyped and drafted way too early. And he'll spend the rest of his days bouncing between 4 or 5 teams. So, I obviously wish the best for him. Like I said to you guys when this whole thing started, he doesn't play for that team anymore, so I don't root against him. But I don't think that he's a guy that should go in the top 3, and I don't think he's a talent as of right now that can be in the top 3. He can develop to it, but I don't think he's a talent right now.
Great.
Yeah, for sure. And Giants owner John Mara, he gave the okay for Dable and their GM to take a quarterback at 6 if they want to. So maybe, I think best case scenario, that'd be the highest he can go is 6 to the Giants. So, but I think Minnesota is the best fit for him, though.
I think that's
can they get down there far enough to draft him is going to be the key. That 4, I don't think Washington and New England are going to move out. The best chance would be either to get to 4 or get to 5, depending on if Arizona wants to move out. But I know they probably want Marvin Harrison.
Yeah,
that's the key. But if you can get to 5 with the Chargers, you have a really good shot at getting him.
The perfect world, yeah. If you're Vikings, you're going to want to jump the Giants. If he falls, you're going to want to jump the Giants and end up at 4 or 5. I think the only way you end up at 4 from the Cardinals is if you trade 11, 23, and possibly your first next year.
I think they're going to have to give up both those first round picks anyways. I think they're okay with that.
Yeah, I think they're okay with giving up both those first round picks. You might have to give up your next 3 first round picks, so the 2 this year, the 1 next year. Then you'll probably have to give up like a second. They're gonna try and rob them to get up that high, because you're also giving up ultimately on a huge talent in Marvin Harrison Jr. You got to think that if they trade up and take him at 4, so it goes Caleb, Jaden, Drake, JJ, the Chargers are at 5, and they take Marvin Harrison Jr., and that's, I'm sure they'll be fine with that. So the Cardinals definitely need a wide receiver. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a generational talent to pass up, so you're going to have to make a sweet deal if you're the Vikings and you want to get up to 4. That's all I think.
Absolutely. Ax says J.J. McCarthy's the next Zach Wilson. Okay.
If he goes to the wrong situation, is not developed right, I could absolutely see that. But his personality, I think, is a lot more humble than Zach Wilson. When Zach Wilson played at BYU, that wasn't even in a Power 5 conference, and he showed you that he could win some big games and make some important throws, unlike Zach Wilson.
Another problem for JJ, if he goes to the Giants, they're going to have to figure out some way, whether it's trading someone for a wide receiver or drafting a wide receiver. Like, you're going to have to go and get him help because if you're starting him day one, he's not going to be able to. You lost Saquon. He's not going to be able to do it with Darius Slayton. Who's the guy?
Isaiah Hodgins. Darren Waller,
Jalen
if he decides to play.
Jalen Hyatt and that one kid that they drafted from Kentucky whose name escapes me right. Wan'Dale Robinson. You're not going to be able to do it with those 4 guys. You're going to need some help. So if the Giants plan on getting him at 6, or if they plan on moving up, like you're going to need to get him some help. So, I mean, the Cardinals could be loaded this draft. To be honest with you, the Cardinals could have 3 picks in the first round if they trade out of 4. They would have 11, 23, and I believe 24.
Yeah, because they got that trade from with the Texans, I believe.
Yeah, with the Texans from last year.
Yeah. X says whoever drafts him high deserves whatever comes to them, and it won't be good. So yeah, Ack isn't high on JJ at all.
I'm not high on him either. Only if he goes to the right situation. If he went to a Vikings again, I think that'd be good. If he went to I don't think it'd be great, but if he went to a Denver, I think it'd be solid. And another thing for JJ, I think he's 6'3", like 190. He needs to be like 6'3", like 215. Like you need to get up to like Will Levis weight or like Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen's like 230, but still, he needs the bulk. He needs the bulk because if you're using your athletic ability and he ran a lot at Michigan, he can still run a lot if he wants in the NFL. But you're not running like Josh Allen or a Lamar. I mean, he'd run more like Josh Allen than he would Lamar, I think, because he's a bigger body guy.
Well, the only other guy we could compare him to in the draft class, like as far as like frame, would be Jaden Daniels, because he's slight himself, but the difference is he's super athletic, like a Lamar, like a Josh Allen. He can move and he can slide. So that's what distinguishes them from JJ.
That's Jaden's problem, though, is he doesn't slide. I love Jaden Daniels. I told you guys before. I think he's the best quarterback.
RG3 2.0 if he don't start sliding.
Yeah. Nobody can play, and you guys know that I'm big on Josh Allen, but nobody can run powerfully like Josh Allen can at the quarterback situation. Obviously, Lamar's super elusive, but nobody can run and just run guys over like Josh Allen. And he's like
only other person was Cam.
Yeah,
you see what happened to Cam after about 10 years, so your body starts to break down. Gotta be smart.
I mean, Josh Allen's 6'5", like 230. I don't know. He's like he's running like Brandon Jacobs. So I think JJ's definitely got to bulk up.
Take some hill.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
All right, my last question here. So we know Cam Sutton got released for the Lions. So Adrian, do you think now that Cam Sutton's gone 29 for the Lions, is it going to be a corner?
Yeah, unless they find a way to go get one of the available corners, such as Stephon Gilmore, Xavier Howard, Tre'Davious White just got picked up right before the show started. So there's one to go pick up a veteran corner. But I need a guy that's not hurt. Tired of them picking up guys that have been coming off injury or whatever. Let's get an established guy who can come in and play. So like I've told you guys, I think corner is the biggest need for this team. And at 29. It's weird. It's up in the air because I think at that point they can take the best available player, whether it's a corner, a D lineman, a receiver. There's a lot of options that they can do, and a lot of places they can attack. So I definitely think corner is a need, but I also don't want them to reach at the same time. If he's not there, just wait on it.
3-2 Washington's up. Yeah, I agree. I think it should be corner. I think Brad Holmes. Like I've said before, he has his list of 15 to 16 guys, whether he wants to trade up for it or a guy thinks he's going to slip. I said that ultimately I think I wanted them to take Chop Robinson. I think Chop Robinson would be a great person to play opposite of Aiden. I've since said no on that. Ever since the Cam Sutton stuff happened, I still would like Chop if he's there and they take him. I'm not going to be too hurt about it. But I would take a guy like Kool-Aid, McKinstry, or I'd take a guy like TJ Tampa at 29. Maybe if Cooper DeJean falls, right there, Reid. If Cooper DeJean falls, maybe you take him. With this new punt rule, he could be a return specialist as well. A guy I like later in the draft, as we all know, I've been going hard for them to get Max Melton. I think I just saw a mock draft where he went all the way up he got picked 31 by Kansas City, or 32 by Kansas City. So I think, or maybe 31 by San Francisco, one of the two. Either way, he made it all the way up to the first round. Ultimately, I don't think he will go in the first round. I think he'll be a day 2. I think he'll be a second round or third round pick. But yeah, I think it should be Kool-Aid or TJ Tampa. TJ Tampa is a big corner. Obviously, you have rapport with Brian Branch and Kool-Aid, so I think that'd be a good fit. You can obviously ask Brian Branch if you know, what is this guy like? You think he'd fit the culture? You think he, whatever. They like Alabama guys. They picked up Jambo. So yeah, I think corner is your biggest need. Ultimately, if you get a guy that's a first round count. I mean, we all saw that Kool-Aid McKinstry was going, early drafts, he was going in the top 10, top 15. So, you can't get a guy like Terry and Arnold from Alabama, but you can at least, get a guy that was out there with him. I think he could start day 1. I think you could end up moving Carlton Davis to the 2 and Kool-Aid could play the 1 when he, I know he has an injured foot, but I don't think that's that's not any concern. But I would also do 2 corners in this whole draft. Another guy that I like that I think is going to be in the second round that they should go after and draft is the guy out of Western Michigan, Marshawn Keneal or something like that. I forgot his last name now. But he's supposed to be really good. He scored a high RAS score. I know Adrian's favorite. He had a high PFF rating. So he's a guy that I like in the second, but ultimately, corner's the pick that I want. Sorry, that was long.
No, there it is. Got to get it all out. It's all out there. All right. Well, yeah, there it is. That was all I had. Anything else you guys want to add before we get up out of here?
I just want to say Sweet 16 starts Thursday. North Carolina plays Alabama in LA at the Crypto Center, formerly known as Staples Center. I believe Carolina wins that game. Arizona plays after that, so we could potentially be seeing the North Carolina versus Arizona matchup with RJ Davis taking on Caleb Love, his former team. So look out for that one, guys.
I think Alabama gets smoked.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, well, yeah. Tournament start back up this weekend. Definitely going to be watching that. Opening round's definitely been great. So yeah.
Hey, by the way, real quick, is that fight next week the one we were talking about the other day, or is it this weekend?
Yeah, that's this weekend. The Pitbull Cruz and Romero Rowley, and Keith Thurman was supposed to fight, but I think he got to like an accident. Something happened where he had to pull out to fight.
All right, let me do my research and I'll get back to you on who I think's gonna win that, because Rowley talks a big game, but I don't see him backing it up. But
okay, yeah, we'll see. Put it in the group text. Put it in the group text.
Yes, sir.
All right, sports update every Tuesday, 8:00. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, like the video for me, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday.
Yes, sir. Peace.